Hi, my name is Claire and I just love to knit. Today I want to show you this beautiful black and white jumper I have just finished. It is so luxurious. The inspiration is from Celine. I also want to tell you how I use an Excel spreadsheet to manage all of my patterns. It really helps me to simplify any overly written instructions which I find very frustrating. If you want to find out how I use an Excel spreadsheet to simplify any written instructions and how I made this beautiful classic jumper, please keep watching. There has been a jumper I've always wanted to make, and that is a very basic oversized stripy kind of jumper. I really like wearing white and I don't think I have enough white jumpers, so this is the perfect chance to create the jumper I've always wanted. The yarn I'm using is the Cashmere Merino Bloom by Pearl Soho. It's 75% merino wool and 25% cashmere. I've used this yarn before one time and I just love it. It's a DK weight, but it feels so soft and the cashmere content makes it even softer and warmer. Last time I used it, I made a vest for my cousin, and when I tried it on, I loved it and I knew I had to make something in this yarn for myself. I bought the white when they were on sale late last year, and I've been waiting to find something to make with it. So the needle's a bit small, I can't show you yet, I'll show you a bit later. So it's got sleeves, front, back, and I've just started striping. To stripe, I've measured 13 centimeters from the top of the neck to where I want the line to start. I've measured some of my other jumpers and I've decided 13 centimeters is where I want to start. I'm going to do some thin stripes, maybe 2 or 3 rows. I think 3 rows will look nice, and then gap it by maybe 10 rows or so. I have to play with it. The black yarn I'm using is a Bendigo Mills yarn in the DK weight. I used this to make my Priscilla cardigan by Marjana Kolacek last year. I love the pattern, didn't love the yarn. So it is a shame I can't really see the lace in the black, and I don't love the yarn. It's a little bit hard and just not nice. So maybe one day I'll go back and make another Priscilla. But just for striping, this yarn will do. I'm catching up with my friends for a cup of coffee and I thought I'd bring my knitting with me. Somehow I forgot to bring another ball of black, so 5 stitches in, I'm sitting here and I can't do any knitting. No black in my baggie. I'm trying to figure out the best proportions to make these stripes. So I have done 4 black stripes and 6 white stripes, and I'm trying to decide, do I do 8 white stripes or do I do 6 compared to the 4? So I'm looking at this Celine sweater, which I quite like the proportion of. And I'm trying to count what proportions they're using. So I've zoomed it right in, zoomed it in. It's very hard to see. I can see the white stripes are 15 rows. The black one, I think it's 10. So that means the white is 1.5 times as big as the black. So my 4 to 6, that's a perfect proportion. So that's decided. I'm going to do 4 rows of black and 6 rows of white, which is probably a good idea anyway. I've only got 300 grams of this. I've already used quite a bit of the white and I haven't even finished the yoke yet. So I am a little bit worried I may not have enough yarn to finish it. I've only done this much and I've used at least 60 grams of yarn. So yeah, let's do 4 to 6 rows. That means there'll be more black. After many nights of working on the body of this jumper, I'm now ready, I think, to start the ribbing.
It's looking pretty good. I'm very happy with it. I've also finished the neckline. You can see a beautiful Estonian braid that I used to pick up the neckline, and I did a twisted rib and an Italian bind off. I've started knitting some rib on the hem. I wanted to do a split hem so it sits nicely over the hips, and I used the smaller needle and a twisted hem just like I did for the neckline. But as you can see, it's pulling in quite a bit on both sides, and it's pulling in here as well. I don't think that looks very nice at all. It's just pulling too much. I want a straight down hem, just sits nice and straight. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to unpick all of this ribbing and redo it in the original needle size, which is 4mm, and I think I won't do the twisted rib because that won't pull it in as much. So I'll do a normal rib in my 4mm, and hopefully it'll go straight down rather than cutting in so much, which I don't like. That is a lot of ribbing I have to redo. It's Sunday afternoon and I'm going for a walk. I've been at home knitting most of the day, which is not very healthy, to be honest. By mid-afternoon, usually I start to feel really stuffy, like I can't breathe, and really hot. So coming out for a walk is always refreshing, but I just don't do it enough. I don't know why I don't, because every time I do go for a walk, I feel amazing. So by putting this down on video, this is my accountability. I'm going to go for walks more often. It's so much better than sitting at home and knitting all day. So since I sold my business, I've decided to give myself a 6-month clean break, a 6-month sabbatical where I am not doing anything. I mean, I do volunteer work, but I'm not doing any paid work intentionally. And now it has been 1 month, so I have 5 more months to go. It has, initially it's been great. I still love it, but I am starting to get a little bit bored. And I think that's the intention, to get really bored so I can figure out what I want to do next. In this time, I've done a lot of knitting and almost one jumper every week, which is great. Not that I'm making YouTube videos, but it's definitely not good on my wrist, my elbows, my back, and on my health levels. More walks, more balanced lifestyle, and figure out how to look after myself in this 6 months until I figure out what my next venture is. I'm making very good progress on my stripy sweater. Here it is. The body is already finished. I've done the main body, I have done the hem. With the hem, I did a high-low hem with a split side. I think this will make it sit better on my hips. The back is 9 centimeters long and the front is 7 centimeters. Again, that gives it a really nice kind of shape and makes it a little bit more different. With the neckline, I did a twisted rib with a Latvian braid around the collar. I think that looks great, but I'm thinking I may go back, unpick it, and make it into a turtleneck. And that's because I had a favorite white turtleneck jumper and I ruined it because when I washed it and it was outside drying, I didn't realize the sunlight comes in the morning, and every time the sunlight hits my white jumpers, it turns out yellow. And not even the yellow, splotchy, it's ruined. So it's at Mum's right now. I'm hoping she'll dye it for me because it's a beautiful cashmere jumper that I bought from Skellin and Theodore, one of my favorite brands. But I don't have any other turtlenecks now. And this white cashmere merino is so luxurious. I'm thinking I will go back in and make this into a turtleneck, and that will still look really nice. Especially since this jumper is so warm, turtleneck will make it just that little bit more cozy. And if I'm going to be wearing it, it'll be somewhere cold anyway, and I have to wear a scarf. So I might as well. I've used 2 balls for the main body, and I have 1 left. And I think that'll be plenty of yarn to finish the whole jumper. The black stripes, again, I was using the Bendigo Mills Luxury 8-ply. It is like sandpaper compared to this cashmere merino. It's okay, but it's definitely not a luxurious feel. It's not very soft. But it'll do for now. It looks really nice in contrast with the white. and it's not lumpy at all. Sometimes when you use two different yarns, it can be a bit lumpy, but it looks pretty good. So I'm happy about that. And around the neckline is the white cashmere merino anyway, so it's all good. The pattern that I used for this jumper was a DK weight jumper that I had test knitted before for Alpha Knits. However, I modified it to create the shape that I want. I want to show you some of my favorite knitting books. In this little corner here, I have all of my knitting pattern books all sorted. It's just a small collection of all of my favorite books. I think my absolute favorite is my Tudor Rose book. I have made 2 things out of here, and I definitely intend to make a few more. It's just, everything is so beautiful in here. It's so classic, and they are not easy to knit. Another one of my favorites would be these Nora Gone books. I have 2 of her books, Knit, Fold, Pleat, Repeat. Now I've got the Knitted Cable Source book. They are fantastic. Nora Gone is a genius. I've knitted so many other things, so you need to check out my Peeking Inside My Wardrobe videos, and you'll see how many there actually are. I've got my 52 weeks of socks. Never knit anything from there because I'm not a sock knitter. I've got my close knits. Love this one. I love the way she writes and the way she designs. It's just so clever. The main thing I want to show you is my collection of Japanese knitting magazines. Japan has a long history of knitwear designs, and they're so clever, and they've got every trick in the book already there. One of my favorite magazines called the Ketodama magazine. It's a Japanese magazine. I've got a few in Japanese and a few in Chinese. I can read Chinese because I finished grade 5 in China before I came to Australia. I can't really read Japanese, but Google Translate is there. What I love about these is it's almost 30 patterns, probably more than 30 patterns in every single book. It's always a range of jumpers and accessories, crochet and knitting, and it is so clearly written out. One whole jumper can sit on 1 page or 2 pages. Everything is clearly charted out. There's also instructions and cheat sheets. Now look, how to do increases with very clear instructions and pictures. I just love it. I mean, the downside for these magazines is everything here is just one size, because this is Japan. It is definitely not size inclusive, and luckily I am similar size to most Japanese to these books. But I think one thing is they rely on you to already be an advanced knitter. So if you want to change sizes, you have to calculate it yourself, and you have to know how to read this. But I definitely do prefer to read it from a chart or a schematic, because it helps you to think about things in a bigger picture rather than following overly written instructions line by line by line. And if you make a mistake, you don't realize, could be 50 rows down the line, and then you realize. Whereas with a chart, you know what's going on, and it's harder to make a mistake because you can see the big picture. I think there's 4 of these a year. They are seasonal. So I've got up to 40, and I've ordered 6 more. Recently, I also found this book out of Mum's stash. Look, it's 90 to 91. So Mum's had this book for over 30 years, and she bought this in Japan when she used to live there. Isn't that incredible? There's some really classic 80s looking and 90s looking designs, but most of the shapes, they're classic. They don't really go out of style. Just a beautiful white cable knit jumper, which will always come back into fashion. So it's just fantastic. The main thing I want to show you out of this book is I found Mum's old chart organizer. So I have seen something similar before from Coco Knits. They also use chart organizers, but this looks like a very classic Japanese chart organizer. You've got your numbers there, which indicates rows, and then Mum has put in here -4, -4, -2, so it shows all the decreases and increases. I think that's a fantastic idea to figure out your increases and decreases and keep a track of them in a very simplified form. So I have created my own organizer chart as well, which I use to make this black and white classic stripe jumper. So let me show you how I use my chart organizer. I've created this little colored spreadsheet in my Excel, and I exported this as an image and put it in my OneNote so I can draw on top of it with my iPad. And I prefer to use OneNote because I keep all of my projects in here and I can write notes on it on the side as well. I also keep a record of, what yarn I use, what gauge it is, my inspirations here. I really should put my needles in. Come back. I use 4mm needle and 3.5 for the rib. Yeah, so I keep everything here. I can see it on my iPad, my phone, and on my computer, which is so convenient. This is the chart that I used. So I took inspiration from Mom's Japanese chart and the Coco Knits chart. I use Coco Knits coloring system because I have the stitch markers. So I have marked out my left front, left sleeve, back, right sleeve, and right front. And I use the colored stitch markers to determine where each of these breaks are. Last year, I test knitted a jumper for Alpha Knits. It was in DK at 21 stitches, so that was the size that I used as a guide. She also used a very clever construction where you just cast on from here to here, and then we do short rows and increases to create the back of the neck, and a cast on to join in the round. It's just very simple to use, so I wanted to use this pattern as my starting off point. So in her pattern, it said to start off casting on 55 stitch and then separating them into 1 stitch for the left front, 3 for sleeve, 47 for the back, 3 for the other sleeve, and 1 for the front, etc. It was a long, complicated instruction. Row 1 do this, row 1 do that, row 2 do that, and that's not how I like to read my instructions. So I charted it all out. First row, I know is the right side. Each section is divided into 3 columns. In the middle is the stitch count, and on 2 sides shows the 2 sides of that left piece. If I increase on this side of the piece, if I increase on this side of the piece, and this is the row numbers. So I started off with 1 stitch, and I increased 1 stitch on the first row on the first stitch, so that made it into 2. I do a normal stocking stitch, so I didn't write anything, all the way to the back, and after 2 stitch, I'm going to short row back. So that's my little short row 2 back. Go back normally, purl stitches all around. On row 3, I have to do some increases in the left front and left sleeve. So I put here +1, +1, and here I've just done a little bracket because I know there needs to be a stitch in the middle here before I increase. So between the 2 increases here, there's a stitch. So that's my little bracket to remind myself. Then I go over here and I go 4 stitches before I do a short row. So I do 4 stitches and I turn around. The next row, I can see we should be on a count of 4 after that increase. So that count helps me to keep on track that I've done the right number of increases and haven't made any mistakes. I do increases, increases. I can see the left sleeve is now 7 stitches after 4 increases. Again, you can always go back. So 3 + 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Perfect, I am on the right track. Then I go over here and I go all the way, knit it all the way to the end with some increases. So no more short rows on this side. I go all the way to the right front. I do another increase here on that first stitch, which makes it into 2. Then on the way back, I'm going to short row 3 back. So do 1, 2, 3, and then short row back, knit to the end, come back here, 6 stitches, short row back, and then now just go back and forth. And by reading instructions, I know that row 11, I have to do increases times 8 increases. And then on row 13, I do 6 increases. Row 15, I do 8 increases. Wait, not 8, 10. 10 increases. So I know every 4th row, I do 10 increases. This row, I do 8 increases. If I lose my place, I just count the number of stitches. Then I know which row I am at immediately. And then I just kept going. So if you read a normal pattern, it'll be like row 1, increase, move marker 1, do an increase, move marker 2, And I just find that so tedious, especially when you're looking at your knitting and you look back up, it's like, what row am I at again? Whereas now I know I'm on 17 and I need to increase in these places. I'm on 19 and I need to increase in these places. If I'm lost, I just do a stitch count and I know which row I'm at immediately. So much easier. And then by the time we get to row 25, we start casting on for the neckline, which is this bit here. So every second row we add 2 stitches, which helps to create this beautiful curve and the neckline in the front. So I just did a little highlight. You cast on 2 stitches at the end of this row. When you come back, you add 2 stitches on the end of this row. And of course, it adds all up to the total stitch count for each section. Again, oh my god, this is a life changer. So much easier. By the time we get to row 33, I know we're going to be joining the neckline in the round. So the left front and the right front is going to become one piece. No problem. I'll just start to ignore this section here. This section here. After all the increases in the pattern, it should be 99 stitches for each of the front and back and 55 stitches for each of the sleeves. However, I don't want mine to have such a big ease, so I want mine to be 91 stitches for the front and the back before we join it in the round. I'm keeping the sleeves the same because I have thick arms. So I'm not going to increase it as often as the instruction says. I mapped out my increases. For the sleeves, I'm still increasing every other row. So I didn't draw this out properly, but this indicates every other row. So imagine that's 35, 37, 39, 41, 43, etc. Sorry if I'm explaining too quickly. So by this stage, I got a bit lazy. Each line is every second row, so it means it's 35, 37, 39. I didn't want to go to 99, I want to go to 91 stitches. So I worked out I would do every increase on every second row for the first 4 times, and then increase on every 4th row for the next 4 times. I'm not sure if that makes sense. I did speak really fast and it's hard to get out what's in my brain. But this is what I do to simplify my knitting patterns. And then in the end, you'll see that I wanted 200 stitches in the round, and underarm cast-ons are 9. So I have 91 plus 99, that's 100 in the front, 100 in the back, which gives me a 96 circumference. Perfect for me. In the sleeves, I will still have 55 plus the 9 stitches that I pick up. Perfect size for me as well. So this is the chart that I use. If you have any questions, let me know. Or if you want me to do a more slowed down tutorial, I'll try and think of a way to slow down and explain it more clearly. Or maybe we can do it together kind of thing next time. I've started doing sleeve decreases, and I was doing them every 6 rows or every 2 centimeters. But I think it is looking a little bit too sharp and it's not nice. By the time I get to the cuff, it's not very balanced. So I guess I will be ripping it out all the way up to the marker. Almost 30 centimeters done after I unpicked my sleeves last night. Let's try it on. That's much better. Yesterday I decreased too quickly, and today I've redone this much since last night. Wait, this much since last night, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that looks heaps better. Now I can start on the ribbing soon. Dang it. I finished one sleeve. The length is now perfect. But the ribbing is too short. That's not enough ribbing to look nice. So back to unpicking. I'm going to unpick the last white stripe and make that whole bit ribbing. So from the last black stripe down, that's all going to be ribbing. Ta-da! All done! This is my first try on after just casting off the sleeves. I finished both sleeves with a 6 centimeter rib and an Italian cast off. I'm really happy with it. And right after this, I am going to go and give it a bit of a steam block. I don't have the patience for a full wash, so steam blocking it is. I think the ribbing will look a lot nicer once the garment is steam blocked. I still do I do still have a bit of yarn left, and I thought about making it into a turtleneck, but I think the jumper is a little bit too hot. If I'm making it into a turtleneck, there'll be very few occasions I can wear it. So, no, this looks really nice. I'm just going to leave it as it is. And yeah, totally happy with it. And of course, if you enjoy watching my chart instructions, leave me a message. If you have any questions, let me know as well. I know I probably went through that too quickly and didn't think about how to explain it better. Maybe I'll do another one with my next jumper. So make sure you subscribe and like, and keep an eye out for all of my knitting journey and tips and tricks.